Hey guys, this is Lane, and I know this is unexpected for two reasons. One, I ain't been very active, so this is my first video in a while. And the other reason, it's not the video I'm used to making, but that's that. So, a couple days ago, I went out while we was in Bristol, I believe, somewhere around there. And there was this Bible store called Gospel Bookstore. I believe it's Bristol, Virginia, not not Tennessee. And I went out and I bought this Bible called the Rainbow Study Bible, which it's backwards, but if you can imagine it frontwards, and it's made by Holman. Right here it shows. See at the bottom, it's got a color coded system, and you can match it up to see what the text is in reference. And I went there, I paid $63 for it. And it came in a leather touch, very, very nice, very soft. One of the best running Bibles I've ever had. Got some indexes on the side. One single ribbon marker out there. Honestly, I ain't used the ribbon marker just yet, even felt of it. That's actually really soft. I like this. And right here, it gives good introductions, like to Philemon. It gives the author, which is the Apostle Paul, and some scholars differ on some of the books, like Genesis. I've never heard a date that's proclaimed for Genesis, but one scholar at least suggested that it's 1450 to 1400 BC. If that's the case, then this Earth is actually a lot younger than you would think. But apart from that, and it says that the date written is between 60 and 61 AD. So, in the book of Philemon, Paul's writing to Philemon, the person. In some cases, like the first and second letters to Corinth, the church. So see, sometimes it's to a church, sometimes it's to a person. Like Titus, he was writing to one person. And it said, in the background, Philemon is a well-to-do Christian from Colossae who owns slaves. One of these slaves, Onesimus, steals one of his master's property and runs away to Rome. While in Rome, he becomes the Onesimus guy becomes a believer after hearing the gospel from Paul, and Paul had been instructed to lead Philemon in saving faith to Christ. So it's not, and that's just a sample of it. While Paul is in Rome under house arrest, so for a new Christian, what had happened here was Paul was let out of prison. They didn't want to hear him. They didn't want to hear him preaching what he was preaching, I believe. So, but they threw him in prison. But the people was getting so mad at that they just decided to throw him in house arrest so he could still preach, but they let them calm down a little bit. from my understanding. And he wrote it to Philemon. So yeah, the background's a little bit confusing, but he wrote it to Philemon, Aphia, and Euryclea. I'm not gonna try saying that. In the content it says the shortest of Paul's letters. Yes, by far. If you compare his letters to the Corinthian church, in either one of his letters to the Corinthian church, it's noticeably shorter. And that's just a sample. And it would have hurt to as much as Moses did. Like, his handwriting was probably sore after all those years. But, I mean, that's an honor at the same time. And there's so much. This is that the book of Philemon is a striking analogy to the redemption story of the gospel. And I ain't shown how he's getting that just yet. Paul pleads with Philemon. Oh, okay. It says, Paul pleads with Philemon to forgive Onesimus, or however you say it, and to restore him beyond his original position as a slave. Now he can be a Christian brother, useful to all members of the church. Philemon is reminded of his visit to Paul, but Paul still offers to repay any loss of Philemon's. So what I guess they're trying to say is that it's like Paul's. I ain't good at trying to explain these things, but if you don't know about the gospel, Jesus came down, perfect sinless man, to die on the cross for us, to all that repent and actually believe. Accept him in, and he'll forgive you, cleanse you, and let you have eternal life. Which I'm assuming that this is what they're saying is how it's related. Tradition reveals that Philemon uses this opportunity to free Onesimus. I don't know how to say that, but that's a pretty good idea of how it works, and there's quite a bit of good stuff in here. I'd went through all the notes, and they look like pretty solid notes, quite honestly. But there's not too many. It's mostly in the book introductions, and every now and then you get a couple maps. And what happened with the rainbow is after Noah's flood, God had promised not to destroy the earth with water again. So that's his clear reminder to us that he's not going to destroy it with water, but perhaps fire. Austin, I see you.
I know, I'm trying not to ruin your video.
I thought you were saying scare me. Oh. And like I said, I've only had this number for a couple of days. I don't know how good it's gonna hold up, but it seems like it's gonna hold up for at least a good 5 to 10 years. With it being a leather touch. And it's also got some pretty good maps in here, and it actually brings you back to the ministry of Jesus on the Sea of Galilee. It gives you some scripture, so you can check that out for yourself if you wanted. And it talks about, or the maps have titles like Israel in the time of Jesus, the kingdom of Israel and Judah. So yeah, some pretty good stuff. The travel, the travel allotment of Israel, the roots of Exodus. Austin, they saw ya. And for those of you who don't know, I never out of my Bibles. Do take notes, just not in my Bible. I have a specific pad for that. But they give you like for front and back, like 8, 10 pages like that, front and back, something like that. So a good amount, but it's definitely not a specific note-taking Bible, and it don't have much margin room. So yeah, hold on. Just gonna make sure. Yeah, front and back it'd be 10 to 12 pages. But like I said, I'm probably not gonna use the note-taking paper in it. That's just not my cup of tea. But I don't hate when people do it. Like, I don't like to see it, but if I hear about it, I'm okay. So it's a pretty good Bible, but you know, right now I'm just having a little bit of a time with it to stick. And one more thing, when I'm on here, I just now remember to pull it up. So right now I'm going to Isaiah 53, and I'm going to read out the entire chapter, which I don't think it's that long. Oh, okay. So it says Isaiah 53, and I'm reading from verse 1 to verse 12. Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? And the I don't know. I don't remember if he's a prophet. I'm just gonna check on this so you guys can have some insight before I start trying to explain this to you. Okay. So Isaiah wrote it between 745 and 680 BC. So remember, this is a very prophetic book in the Bible. Isaiah's prophetic ministry, yes, very prophetic, lasts about 60 years in the reign of 4 kings of Judah. That was more than, I can't remember how many kings in total there are. But Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Ezekiah, I believe, that's how you say it. This book is named after its author, the prophet Isaiah. Yes, he's a prophet. Background is he's a well-educated, politically astute Isaiah, and he lives in Jerusalem, the capital of Judah. Isaiah's message for all of Israel, or he had a message for all of Israel, but his ministry is primarily directed to Judah. Isaiah and Micah are prophesying God's word. At the same time, tradition has it that Isaiah is sawn into pieces during the reign of the evil Manahazi. The book of Isaiah begins the prophetic section of the Old Testament, and he possibly wrote it in Jerusalem. He probably primarily wrote it to the nation of Judah, but he also wrote it to the surrounding nations, so maybe Israel. I don't remember if Israel's in it or around it, but so yeah, that's just way too much for me to cover right now in terms of the background. But if you want to get it, you can, and then you understand. But it said, "Who hath believed our report, and to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed? For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as of a dry ground. He hath no form, nor comeliness, nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him." So, for Jews, this is what's considered the forbidden chapter of the Torah, or Old Testament, I guess you could say, because if you realize it's talking about Jesus, and the Jews don't in any way, shape, or form believe that Jesus is the Messiah, but the true Christians do. So keep that in mind, that we should desire him. Talking about Jesus. So going over to the four accounts of the gospel, nobody should physically would be able to know who Jesus is, aside from the disciples pointing him out, because he looks like everybody else in general. And that's why the disciple, if you can you can call Judas Iscariot a disciple because Jesus called him, but he didn't really believe. He turned Jesus away for 30 pieces of silver, which at that time was worth the same as a slave. But going over back to when Joseph was being sold, he was sold for 20 pieces, but inflation had occurred at this time. It's when money's becoming worthless, or less worthless at least. So it says he is despised and rejected of men. It's because he had the perfect preaching. People who hate preaching don't want anything to do with God most of the time. A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, we hid as it were our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. They didn't like Jesus. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. He was hit, bruised. I believe his bed was ripped out, spat. They spit on him. And I believe, which I'll check up on this in a few minutes, but I believe that it's in the Gospel of Matthew that he was struck and marked while he was blindfolded. And then they said, "Prophesy to us, Lord, who hit you." And the tricky thing is, if you have no sight, you can't know who hit you. And this, you can. And it says, verse 5, But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities, the chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. That's referring to the crucifixion of Jesus. He was hit, but he was whipped so much that his bones were stung back at him with a cat of nine tails. Very deadly weapon. And then he had to carry his own cross to Calvary. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. The iniquity, in other words, sin. Jesus took the sin of the world on his shoulders. So that's what it's talking about. It's saying that he was grieved because of it, I believe. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shears is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off the land of the living. I'm going to stop at that for a second. The land of the living. What do you think that could mean? Crucified, 3 days later, back in the land of the living, resurrected. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. The people I'm gonna check, see where he was born, if it says. I would think that it's talking about Israel. Yes, it's quite possibly talking about Israel. And it said, verse 9, and he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. He didn't lie. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief when thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin. He shall see his seed, and shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul, and shall be satisfied. By his knowledge shall by miraculous servant justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he hath poured out his soul unto death. And he was numbered with the transgressors. That was 2 other people beside Jesus. There was a thief on the left and a thief on the right, both of which was on a cross. One denied him, one accepted him. One accepted him with his last breath, and the other denied him with his last breath. And he bare the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. Jesus is still making intercession for us it this is in their tracement, but it don't matter. He's still doing it. So that's all of it. Overall, like I said, I like this, but right now the swivel marker is not wanting to stay in place. Oh, till next time, peace.